All right, so the 20 things I dislike are starting with one, there's no diesel option for the 4Runner. That's hugely disappointing. I really wish there was a diesel engine for this thing because, when I drove this thing from, SoCal up to NorCal and I had to cross over the Grapevine, keep in mind, I'm really driving this thing at sea level. um, I was really surprised about how much power it lost on the way up the Grapevine at sea level. So I can only imagine how much power this thing will lose if I'm at a 6,000 or 7 foot, 6,000, 7,000 foot elevation and I'm climbing a steep hill. I'll have no passing power and I'll just be falling behind everybody. I don't think it's for lack of horsepower on this engine, although I do wish it was around 340 horsepower. That would be really nice. But 270 is a little bit, I think, low for the weight of the vehicle, especially after you mod it out. But I do wish they had a diesel engine with a higher compression ratio, and we can get more power out of it, more horsepower. And I do think that having a 10-speed transmission also couldn't hurt either. I think Toyota is way behind the times on, the transmission here with the 4Runners. When you look at Ford and Chevy and some of the other vehicle manufacturers, you just have, you got a lot more speeds in the transmission, more gearing in the transmission. So I think for hills and overall driving horsepower, I think that would really help a lot. So number one is, again, no diesel engine option for the 4Runner, and I wish it had that. Number two, there's a lot of cheap plastic on the exterior. So things like, the door handles are very similar to the door handles on the Toyota Camry. So not the same parts bin, but pretty darn close. The mirrors, they're, real cheap, real flimsy. You can see how it kind of shakes there. So I'm a little disappointed in just how cheap everything kind of it feels there. Same thing around the front. This big honking piece of cheap plastic in the front there. The fog light fixtures, it's kind of hard to see, but everything kind of wiggles and moves there. The lights everything's just kind of flimsy and cheap from the plastic standpoint on the exterior there. Let's see. There's a lot of plastic on the rear that I'm not too happy with, like the logo. There's just that huge piece of plastic there. I think it looks okay. That's not a huge complaint. So I think that's all right. No mirror blinkers. That's number three. So that's a big deal because, this is a TRD Pro and you should get those because other 4Runner models have the mirror blinkers and you don't get those. Also, a lot of other vehicles have puddle lights under here that illuminate the ground. So you kind of have them on the doors at the bottom, but they're just not that great. So it'd be really cool to have, blinkers on the mirrors. Number four, the door panels on the car are really thin sheet metal. Very, very, very thin. And I think Toyota does that to get the weight down on the vehicle. So the downside to that is that if you park at the mall or you're out the grocery store, someone opens their door on your door, you're screwed. You're going to have some dings. So I didn't have a single blemish on this car when I bought it, other than some small paint chipping, which I'll show you in a sec. But I was really disappointed to get some dings from some parking lots on this thing. And thanks to the cheap, thin sheet metal, that's what that's about. So that's if you don't care about it because you're off-roading like crazy and pinstriping the side of your vehicle, okay, great. Who cares? But for me, I really like the way the vehicle looks aesthetically, the exterior styling and everything, and I want to make sure I keep it in really good shape. So I am disappointed about how cheap and flimsy the exterior steel is. Number five is the paint. So the paint is very, very thin and cheap, and I can show you that here. So if you look right there, you can see the little paint chip on the edge of my tailgate there. And this came with the vehicle, so I don't know how that chip got there, but I can tell you that Toyota paint, I know from owning a Camry, is very, very cheap. So it's really thin. If I were to go up against this BMW here and I were to kind of drag along my fender along the side of that BMW fender would completely take off all of my paint and down to the plastic and everything, or the steel, and then you could literally scrub out the paint from my car that transferred to the BMW paint and scrub it off the BMW, and underneath your BMW paint is likely to be fine. That's because BMW paint is really high quality, very thick, a lot of clear coat, just a fantastic paint job on the BMW. Toyota's not so much, so I give that a pretty good ding there for low quality paint job, real thin on the paint, on the coats, and on the clear coat. Although I really love this paint, it does look very good. I am worried about the quality of the paint job itself. Number 6 is the cheap plastic everywhere. So, you know, the plastic on the interior of the trunk, everything is just very, very cheap. It scratches real easy, and it's just, you know, all of this plastic, all this exterior plastic here, it just scratches so easily. So anything you do to it, even your fingernail would scratch this. Anything you put back here, I mean, forget about it. You know, it's anything that's knocking around is just going to scratch the hell out of your plastic. So be aware of that and be ready for that. You probably don't want to put your dog in this car if you want it to look, unless you want it to look real ugly with lots of scratches everywhere. Number 7 is the radio antenna. So the radio antenna on this car, Toyota stupidly put it on the roof forward of the tailgate when they should have put it on this tailgate spoiler itself. And that's a big problem for me because I'm going to be taking these rails off and I'm going to customize and put on a custom rack, a full-length rack all the way to the front, and I'm going to put storage up front, and then I'm going to put, you know, a Tepui tent, a rooftop tent on the backside. So I am probably going to have to relocate that antenna. You can see how much it sticks up above the rails there. So I'm going to have to relocate that thing when Toyota just should have put it on the spoiler. And so that's a big miss for Toyota. I can't believe they haven't figured that out yet. Number 8 is no liftgate, so power liftgate rather. You know, and that's really disappointing because this is an off-road vehicle. It gets extremely dirty when you take it off-road, and the back especially just picks up all the dirt. And so you're going to have to handle this thing with your hand once it's all dirty, which means your hands are going to be dirty, and now you're going to put your hands back on the steering wheel eventually. So not cool. If they just made a power lift gate, you could access whatever you need to in the trunk, and then hit a button, boop, and then close it. Even $20,000, you know, Ford Escapes have that. Now, it's pretty amazing that Toyota, you know, hasn't figured that out yet, and I'm sure they're doing it right now on this vehicle because, you know, if they add it, it's going to create a lot more weight on the vehicle, and they're trying to get the MPG down on this thing. Well, they can solve that problem pretty easily just by putting in a diesel that produces more horsepower and gets better mileage. And then they can start adding some more high quality features into the vehicle, like power liftgate motors and things like that. So that's one that's easily solved just by Toyota thinking about a diesel for the 4Runner. Number 9 is the sliding table that's in the trunk. It actually wastes a lot of space. So if I open this back up, you can see the sliding table that's here, and you know that slides out to kind of help you grab heavy stuff that's there. It's kind of kludgy, kind of quirky. You know, you might have some smaller items that are on the back of it that'll fall down into that crevice that's revealed when you open it up. And my number 1 complaint with this sliding thing is that you lose about 4 inches of vertical space in your trunk with this thing. So I'm going to be taking this out, and I'm going to be putting in my own storage, you know, drawers and stuff in here that are mounted in here. To maximize my space there. Number 10, dim lighting on the exterior. So the headlights on this thing and the fog lights, I'll just turn them on real quick. Okay, put my brights on. And let's just go ahead and put the hazards on. You can see the blinkers. And my fog lights are on there, okay? Okay, so we got everything on there. We got the headlight on. We got the bright on, which is the inner light there. And the blinker, there's the blinker. And this fog is actually dead. So we have to go around to this side to see what the fog, oh, both my fogs are dead, okay. So yeah, the fogs are real cheap on this thing. They're real dim. I'm hugely disappointed in how dim all the exterior lights are. You definitely want to, let's see, turn my brights off, see if the fogs come on. You definitely want to replace all those bulbs. Yeah, you can't have the brights on and the fogs at the same time. That's interesting. I didn't know that until just now. But really, really dim lighting. It's laughable how dim all the lighting is on this thing. So you're definitely going to want to upgrade all of the lighting on the front. And that is number 10. Number 11 is dim interior lighting. Let me just go ahead and turn all these things off. So the interior lighting on the 4Runner is a joke. And you can see it there. Let me just take the key out of the ignition here. So all the lighting, the vanity lighting, everything is very dim. If you lose something down here at night and something falls down there on the ground or in between the seats and your dark black interior, you're never going to find it using these lights. So you just want to upgrade this. I got the Diode Dynamics LED kit. They're really bright LEDs, 92 lumens. For the interior and also for the puddle lights. The puddle lights are also a total joke in terms of how bright they are. So all 4 doors are going to have the upgraded LEDs in the interior. All right. So that is number 11. Number 12, you know, is just cheap plastic on the interior. So a lot of cheap plastic, cheap materials. You know, everything scratches really easily. You know, I'm not a fan of the plastic they chose for the dash. Also, these control panels and the buttons are like right out of the Toyota Camry, no joke. Now this is a 2015 4Runner. Those buttons, those same buttons, are in that 2010 Toyota Camry. So I'm disappointed in the cheap, flimsy plastic, you know, buttons that Toyota is using there. Really not happy about that. And just pulling things from a Camry, Corolla, and Yaris parts bin is kind of unacceptable when you're spending, you know, upwards of 50K on a vehicle like this. So, just my opinion. The info display. Let me show you that real quick. So I'm really disappointed in the info display. So if we go ahead and turn the car on. Okay. We'll get to this in a second. But you'll notice that the info display is like an 8-bit Nintendo game. It is absolutely horrible. And you know, when you look at something like a Ford Escape or most other vehicles, you're going to get a nice high quality graphical display that shows a lot of really cool stuff in that display. And I think Toyota is about 10 to 12 years behind the times with this informational display. It also does not show the PSI rating, your tire pressure per tire. My 2008 Acura RDX did show that. This does not. You have TPMS sensors, tire pressure monitoring sensors on all the wheels on this thing, but it will not give you those stats. It only tells you a warning if the tire pressure gets too low. So that is kind of ridiculous, because when you're off-roading, you're constantly airing up and airing down your tires, and you want to know what the PSI is while you're driving in the vehicle. That's convenient. So really disappointed that we're about 12 years behind the times on that info display. Okay, so that's you know, that's number 13. Number 14 is the TRD floor mats. The TRD floor mats, I do not have them in this vehicle. I took them out already because of how cheap they are. So let's just come out and we'll take a look at what I do have. Now the TRD floor mats, they do not cover, they don't have good coverage on the floor, right? So, you know, you're gonna get mud and water and stuff, gunk underneath those floor mats. And you know, the other problem with those floor mats is that the stitching on the TRD floor mats is subpar. I'm not a huge fan of the embroidery on them. It doesn't look that great. Okay, so that's number 14. Number 15 is there are no TRD embroidered headrests. Nope, they do not come. The TRD Pros do not come with TRD Pro embroidered headrests, and that is hugely disappointing. You get the red stitching, but when you look at something like a Ford Raptor, dude, you get two-tone. I really wish Toyota would figure that out and do like a nice red two-tone on the seats and some two-toning on the doors with some red to show the TRD badging, because you know, Ford's got that figured out, but Toyota doesn't yet have that figured out, and that would just make it a really nice TRD-esque, you know, feature of the 4Runner. Number 16 is the interior design and the aesthetics and ergonomics. So we kind of talked a little bit about that, but ergonomics, okay, they're okay. I give it maybe like a 7 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10, because, you know, these seats are not that ergonomic for really long road trips. Now my Acura RDX or even a Honda, you can do a long 10-hour drive and you're going to be okay. These seats are going to start to bother you after about 2 hours, so be ready for a lot of stops and breaks. And so that's really hugely disappointing, because when you're off-roading, you really want something comfortable, because you're going to be going on long road trips with vehicles like this. So I'm disappointed that Toyota hasn't gotten the ergonomics right on this yet. The interior design overall is okay. It's somewhat manly looking, but I think there's also, you know, a lot to be desired on the aesthetics and just the overall design and the practicality of it. The Entune system, the sound system, is really a huge piece of junk. It's about 10 to 12 years old, years behind the times. I think it's literally, this system is out of the Yaris and Corolla parts bin. The sound quality is absolutely horrible. So if you ever crank the sound system on a Yaris or a Corolla, whatever you hear in that vehicle is pretty much what you're going to hear in this vehicle. So I'm hugely disappointed. The interface to the iPhone, like my iPhone, when I plug it in, you know, on a Ford Escape or like other $20,000 vehicles out there in the market, you get a beautiful display, you get touchscreen integration, everything's really nice. This is really quirky and funky how it works with an iPhone, and it doesn't work that well. And I just give it a huge thumbs down. Also, the Bluetooth for your phone calls, when you make and take your phone calls in this car from your cell phone over the Bluetooth, the speaker system downsamples the voice quality from the folks that you're talking to on the phone, so that people's voices when you're having a phone call in this car sound horrible. You get into a Honda, you get into, you know, a Ford, and, you know, the electronics, the voice quality, the sound quality is so much better. So I'm hugely disappointed in sort of the audio downsampling quality that this head unit actually does to your phone call. It's terrible, and it's embarrassing. So sometimes I just, you know, take the call just straight up on my ear or use my Bluetooth headset. Now my Bluetooth headset also, it competes with the Bluetooth here. So it's really hard to get your Bluetooth headset, if you're wearing one in your ear, for example, to stay connected, because it keeps wanting to connect to your system here. So that's a problem as well. You know, the center console design is a little quirky. Things are placed in really weird places. Like there's a cup holder here, there's a cup holder there, there's this really weird storage bin there that's not for coins, because the coin storage is here in this thing. And so that's really strange. I think all these buttons and switches could have been relocated up here. There's you know, there's this like empty space here, and I really think they could have done a better job of making sort of a panel that snaps out here, because a lot of people want to customize stuff and put custom things in there. I'm going to put a ham radio in here, and I'm not sure what else at this point, but we're going to do some customization there. So I'm disappointed in that. The other thing is on the interior is the glove box is a little small. You know, for a vehicle this size, I would expect a little bit bigger glove box. You can see my little Swiffer box there, and that's, you know, that's it. I mean, that's the space. So there's not a lot of space in there, both vertically and from a depth standpoint. So I'm pretty disappointed in that, because you have a pretty big dash. When you look at how deep the dash is, you know, it's pretty deep, and I would expect a deeper glove box. You know, I mean, the fire, maybe it's right up against the firewall, I don't know. But, you know, in a big vehicle like this, I would just expect a bigger glove box. All right, so that's number 19, glove box. Number 20 is the gas tank. The gas tank's really not big enough. It's a 20-gallon tank, and the problem with a 20-gallon tank on this thing, when you're getting 17 mpg average, is you just run out of gas really, really fast. So I would like to see a bigger fuel tank on the 4Runner. I'll be okay, because after I put on my new rear bumper with the swing gate and all, I'm gonna have jerry can holders, and I'm gonna have extra fuel with me, so that'll be okay. As a bonus, I will say two other things. One is the oil change procedure on this car is extraordinarily painful, and you have the skid plate to contend with. You have a oil filter that you have to reuse the housing for to put your new filter in, so you got to take the oil filter housing apart. That's a pain in the butt. And then as another bonus of a dislike, I will say this. You'll notice the rubber seal around the trunk here. That rubber seal will seal the dust out that collects at the rear end when you're off-roading. However, you have a lot of surface area from the outside of the vehicle all the way to that rubber seal that's going to get very, very dirty. And the same thing is true on the lift gate itself. So I want to see Toyota create a rubber seal on this lift gate that's around that edge right there, all the way around, and that will seal out all the dirt, so that you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours washing all of that surface area and those nooks and crannies and crevices on the back side where the tailgate is after it's gotten dirty from off-roading. So all right, well, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it, and hopefully we see a lot of my dislikes improved upon in the 2018 4Runner, which we don't yet know anything about. So we'll see what happens. All right, till next time, guys. Take care.